Hi, everyone. Josh Roger here on this wonderful Wednesday morning with a live weather update on the latest details for that heavy rain potential that is really cranking up for overnight tonight to early tomorrow morning. Not only that, we're getting in some new data that may interest you just a little bit for Thursday night into Friday morning as well. I know our main focus is on that heavy rain potential that's coming up early Thursday morning. Obviously, that could cause some flash flooding in portions of northwest Arkansas and especially the River Valley. But there's also a few things that Dan and I have been looking at early this morning that may interest you just a little bit for early Friday morning. It might be going under the radar, but hope everybody's having a great start to the day. It's a warm start to the day over northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, but showers already starting to knock on our doorstep. You're right, Edward, an early live stream this morning. We've been doing that over the last couple of days, hoping to just give you some more details on what's going on. And Dan's watching as well. The dramatic music ready to rock and roll. We're within 24 hours of the event, so got to rock and roll with that dramatic music. It's actually my favorite one. I wish I could use it every single time, Dan, because I just absolutely love the music that we're rock and roll with. But let's go ahead and take a look at Mega Doppler just real quick. We can see a few light rain showers that are starting to develop. We did anticipate this would happen. We do have rain in the forecast later on this afternoon. It's not going to be anything heavy, nothing crazy as you head back home from work and school, but it is a sign that these little pieces of energy are starting to work their way into our area. We've been talking about that over the last few days. Obviously, there's a big piece of energy located over the desert southwest that's mixing in with some Baja Blast energy, as well as the abundant moisture that's pushing in. That is going to be the main event overnight tonight or early tomorrow morning. But again, light rain showers starting to develop in portions of Delaware County right now. A little bit farther to the south and west towards LaFleur and Scott County. You're seeing some radar returns there. Even some lightning going on a little bit farther south, just off to the south of our weather coverage area. You can see some thunderstorms that are starting to develop near Hugo. We're a little bit too far away from that particular storm to kind of see the details of it, but it is a sign, again, that there's some energy that's starting to kick in off to our south and west, and that's why we are expecting those rain chances to increase up and down the I-49 and Interstate 540 corridors. You can see that here on satellite radar. Again, nothing crazy. There's that little piece of energy I was just talking about in southeast Oklahoma, some heavier rain going on in portions of northeast Texas, southern Arkansas, and northwest Louisiana. We take a wider view here. This is pretty similar to what we've got going on right now. I did make this surface map several hours ago, so it may not be updated completely, but it does give you an idea. Multiple systems interacting with each other right now. We've got this occluded front that's located over New Mexico. That's surging off to the north and east right now, and just kind of the perfect recipe for heavy rain potential over northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. You've got a lot of things interacting with each other. There's that big piece of energy located over the desert southwest, and look at that spin. My goodness, that is a huge piece of energy right there, and it is starting to eject off to the north and east now. You can see that on the tail end of water vapor starting to kick in right there on the leading edge of that drier air. That's where you get a whole lot of shower and storm development. We're going to see that over northwest Arkansas and the River Valley very, very soon. Now, I really haven't made a whole lot of changes to our 2-day precipitation forecast timeline. Really no need to do so because I think it's right on the money. You can see a small chance of rain again, mostly light rain expected throughout the afternoon hours today, but those rain chances are really going to ramp up overnight tonight to early tomorrow morning, especially during your morning commute. Look at that, a 100% chance of rain in the forecast for northwest Arkansas. I think between midnight tonight through noon tomorrow, that's going to be the sweet spot for the heaviest rainfall over our weather coverage area. The farther south and east you go, the more likely for those showers and storms to train over the same areas, which could lead to some pretty significant flash flooding potential, especially along the Interstate 40 corridor. Because of that, there is a flood watch in effect. Dan talked about this yesterday along with Peyton. Northwest Arkansas not included in that. Benton and Washington County not included in that, but there is a potential for that to change. So I'm not saying that far northwestern Arkansas will see no flash flooding or any flooding at all, but it does look like the River Valley will be the main focus for that. So you can see that flood watch in effect, including Sebastian and Crawford County in and around the Fort Smith area. This flood watch was issued by the National Weather Service office in Tulsa. So it starts at 6 p.m. this evening and goes until 3 p.m. on Thursday. It's just important to mention that because for far eastern portions of our weather coverage area, including Boone, Newton, Logan County, a little bit farther to the south towards Scott County, this flood watch is extended for a little bit longer. So you can see That will expire at 6 p.m. on Thursday. And that's, again, because it was issued by a different National Weather Service office. Little Rock is taking care of that flood watch. So, as you can see, different times there, but regardless, very heavy rainfall expected in these spots as we move throughout the overnight hours tonight into early tomorrow morning. So, here's the latest high resolution rapid refresh model. We're getting this model kicked off at around 7:30 p.m. this evening. Again, the potential for some light rain showers throughout the afternoon, but after sunset, that's when that energy is really going to start kicking in. So temperatures right around the middle to upper 50s at 7:30. Obviously, all of this is going to fall in the form of rain. You knew that. This is not a system that's bringing us any winter weather potential. But as you can see, very heavy rainfall starting to push into the river valley after midnight, right around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. You can see those southerly winds also starting to increase along the Interstate 40 corridor. Some of these storms will have the potential to be on the strong side. The latest Storm Prediction Center outlook does not include much of our area in that marginal risk, but there are some other indications that this system could pack a little bit more of a punch than maybe what some of the models are showing. That's because some instability may work its way in, especially some of that mixed level instability that allows for small hailstones to develop and even the potential for some gusty winds as well. So we'll have to watch that very closely, especially along and south of Interstate 40. Thunderstorms will also be possible in northwest Arkansas as well. But notice how widespread that heavy rain threat is during the early morning hours tomorrow. So right as you're heading off to work and school, folks, that's when the heaviest rain is going to be falling over our entire weather coverage area. So it's imperative that you've got a plan in place. Make sure you're leaving early tomorrow, taking it nice and easy. There are going to be trouble spots on the roadways. I can think of several areas: Garland Avenue, Johnson Mill Boulevard, the Arkansas River Bridge. Those areas that are prone to seeing ponding on the roadways are going to experience issues tomorrow. So you got to make sure you're taking it nice and easy because that heavy rain is going to continue throughout the morning hours. Now, some models want to push it out a little bit too quickly. I think that heavy rain threat could continue through about lunchtime in most spots. As you can see, this model kind of picking up on that a little bit better than some of the other ones. So I think the HRRR might be the one we look at as we forecast this event. But as you can see, temperatures warming up into the upper 50s across our area. Heavy rain right around 12 p.m., still pushing into portions of NWA. I do think the bulk of this activity will be out by the mid to late afternoon hours. So right around 3, 4 p.m., that heavy rain threat will start winding down. We could have some scattered showers as little pieces of energy swing our way, but most of it's going to be out by the evening. However, notice just off to our north and west on Thursday, and the European model was also picking up on this, some scattered showers and storms going on in southeastern Kansas. And even though this model, well, it's starting to bring it in now, you can see a little bit of shower activity trying to move through early Friday morning as well. Kind of a cold core setup. And these showers may be a little bit more intense than what this particular model is showing because that system is actually getting enhanced. A bit of a Fujiwara effect because you have two pieces of energy interacting with each other. And a lot of times that can enhance one of those pieces of energy on the backside of the system. So would not be surprised if we had some shower activity, even with temperatures in the lower to middle 40s, maybe even some small hailstones as well from this area of showers. But obviously, the main focus is on the heavy rain threat. 1 to 3 inches of rain looking likely for northwest Arkansas. Every single location is going to see rain in some form or fashion. I would wager that most locations will see over an inch at the very least. But the farther south and east you go, the more likely you are to run into those really heavy rainfall rates, which is why I've got 2 to 4 inches of rain along and south of Interstate 40 in the River Valley with the potential for locally higher amounts as well. So if you live in Fort Smith, a little bit farther to the east towards Clarksville, Boonville, Alma, Greenwood, Ozone, these are the spots right here that I'm looking at for the potential for very heavy rainfall and for a higher end threat for flash flooding from this particular storm system. So this is something we're going to be watching very closely. Again, we jog a little bit farther north and west towards NWA. Yes, the rainfall totals are not as hefty, but rapid runoff is certainly a possibility, especially considering haven't had a whole lot of rain over the last few weeks. Remember, we did have that winter storm a couple weeks ago, but that was only equivalent to about a half inch of water in most spots. So this is a pretty significant system right here. You can see about 1 to 2 inches of rain in and around the Fayetteville area, Springdale as well, Benton County, Bella Vista, Southwest Missouri. So I know a lot of folks are asking about specific locations. This is kind of the general setup that we're looking at right now for Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Again, the farther south it needs to go, the more likely you are to run into that heavy rainfall. You know what? I'll go ahead and show you what the latest HRRR is pumping out in terms of rainfall totals. So I can show that right here. So this model may be a little bit underdone for Northwest Arkansas, but I still think it has a general idea of things. Again, about 1 to 3 inches of rain, I think, in most spots in NWA. But you get a little bit farther south, that's some pretty significant rainfall in a short amount of time for the river valley. You can see 2 to 4 inch amounts, very common. But there's going to be a swath of heavier rain, and I do think it will set up just off to the south and east of the I-40 corridor near Boonville, Waldron, and Clarksville. I think this model has a pretty good idea of what's going on with this particular system. If we look at some other computer models here, I'm sure the graph is underdoing things just a little bit. Actually, not doing too bad, but again, it does have the swath of heavier rainfall a little bit farther south and east. So this model tries to push out the rain, in my opinion, a little bit too quickly. The European model, in general, it's going to be a lower res model, so it's not going to show those finer details like the HRRR or NAM or other models that are a little bit higher res. This is the GFS, very similar to the European, though it does show a swath of heavier rainfall just off to the south and east of the area. And then the NAM also showing significant rain. So as you can see, every single model showing significant rain in some form or fashion. That leads us to our excessive rainfall forecast as well. I know this can be updated quite a bit from the Weather Prediction Center, but this actually has been updated recently, so I have to move this marginal risk a little bit farther to the east. Now, the day one outlook goes until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that's why we're looking at that initially. So just take this with a grain of salt. Right now, we're not dealing with excessive rainfall, but overnight tonight to early tomorrow morning, that will be a different story. So that's why I have the timing from 6 p.m. today through 6 a.m. Thursday. The rain is not going to stop at 6 a.m. Thursday. In fact, it's really going to ramp up at 6 a.m. It's just that this day one outlook is valid until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Areas of heavy rainfall going to be possible, again, mainly in the river valley initially, which is why they've expanded that slight risk of excessive rainfall into portions of LaFleur and Scott County, a little bit farther north and east, just off to the south and east of the Fort Smith area. And then that leads us into the day two outlook that starts tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and goes until around 6 p.m. I think that's when that heavy rain threat is going to end. You can see pretty much every single location in the river valley under that level 2 out of 4 slight risk for excessive rainfall. But Northwest Arkansas being clipped by a level 1 out of 4 marginal risk. But again, we haven't had a whole lot of rain, or at least liquid precipitation over the last several weeks, really. And that's why this system could pack a little bit more of a punch than maybe what some of the models are showing. Now, here's the latest severe weather outlook. This has really not been updated since yesterday. This is about the same thing that you saw yesterday with Dan and Peyton. But as you can see, that level 1 out of 5 marginal risk is clipping southern portions of Scott and LaFleur County. Dan and I personally think that there still will be the chance, though, of gusty winds and small hail along the Interstate 40 corridor as we go throughout this event. And I would include Northwest Arkansas in that as well, maybe Thursday night into Friday. Again, if a little bit of instability can work its way into the area, we do have some energy moving in on the backside of the system. If that can come together, there will be the chance of that early Friday morning. So don't let your guard down completely. There could be a few impacts early Friday morning as well, especially before sunrise. I think that's what's going to be the sweet spot, I think, in terms of additional rainfall if that does come to fruition. Again, it's a little bit of a longer shot, but there are some indications that that will be the case. And sometimes the models can not pick up on that very well. So that's what we're working with in terms of rainfall totals, in terms of the severe weather potential. I'm going to answer some questions real quick, and then we're going to kind of look at some of these other models that may be hinting at something for Thursday night into early Friday morning. But I want to get to some comments because I know a lot of folks are wondering about things. Edward's asking about the severity. So as you can see, Edward, the Storm Prediction Center hasn't increased that severe weather risk a whole lot over our area. But at the same time, I would not completely discount it because there is a lot of energy to work with, again, with this system. Temperatures are a little bit warmer right now across Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley than what the models were showing. So that can sometimes throw a wrench in things. That can indicate that maybe a little bit more instability. It's working its way in as well. We are starting to see quite a bit of cloud cover too, so that can throw a wrench into things. So a lot of things that we've got to watch very closely, but nothing's set in stone. Regardless, there is going to be very heavy rainfall from this system, so we certainly have to watch that very closely as well. Nikita, so nice outside right now. I'm sitting down outside with my dog. So, Nikita, I am going to feature Bentley and Chip on the Furcast Friday. Didn't get to show them today just because we had that heightened urgency with the flash flooding risk. We had a lot of things to get to this morning on the forecast, but we will show them on Friday once the system pushes on out of the area. It's going to be an amazing weekend. I will show you the 7-day forecast as well. It is going to be absolutely incredible across our area. Very warm and just exquisite weather expected up and down the I-49 and Interstate 540 corridors. Right when I was seeing 70s on Tuesday, I started thinking, oh, that's not good. Well, here's the deal, Brendan. Next week, not a whole lot of energy to work with, at least for the first half of next week. Now, later on the week, another storm system probably going to impact our area. We're watching that, but it should uh, it, it should start to cool off just a little bit at the very least. We're going to be in this battle zone in terms of our weather here in Northwest Arkansas. The Arctic air is eventually going to get here. Some of them all want to push it in a little bit quicker than others. Meteorologically, it makes sense for it to stay in place, at least the warm air to stay in place a little bit longer. So we are going with warmer temperatures for the early part of next week. But the 70s on Tuesday are going to be fine. Tuesday is going to be great. Mostly sunny skies expected. It's going to be a great time to get outside. What we're having right now is much more impactful, at least in the short term. Maybe next week that system that's coming through is a little bit more impactful, but right now our complete focus is on this one because we know things will change, especially when it comes to the forecast. Let's see here. So glad I don't have to leave my house until 10:40 p.m. Friday night. Where are you going, Kathy? I'm actually interested to see where you're going over the weekend. Again, 10:40 p.m. Friday night, you're going to be A-okay. In fact, temperatures will not be too bad, and Saturday is going to be even better. High temperatures likely going to be in the lower 60s in most spots. I love watching your lives in class. I promise I'm being productive. Well, Kinsey, we'll keep it on the lowdown for you. Here's the deal. I was in your same shoes when I was younger. A lot of times when Dan or other meteorologists were getting on, I would sneak a peek right when I was in class. Shout out to all my teachers when I was much younger, and even my college professors as well. I would be sneaking a peek just because I was so interested in what was going on. So I feel you on that front, Kinsey. I'll keep it on the lowdown. Just make sure you get that homework in, right? Make sure you're still doing that and everything. I always say when winter weather's coming through the area too, from personal experience, you want to get your homework done as soon as possible. Number one, because you can enjoy the snow if it does come to fruition and not have to worry about it until the early part of next week. Number two, if it doesn't snow, you don't get into trouble, which happened to me a couple of times when I was much younger, when I was in Hot Springs. I was in the 5th and 6th grade, and I got burnt a couple of times with those systems down in Hot Springs. Let's see here. Oh, sweet. I get to go fishing in my front yard. Yeah, Andy, you got to see if there's any bass or trout out there with all the rain that we're going to see here in Northwest Arkansas. Lydia, I like your energetic updates. It's like we're going on adventures. I mean, that's how I treat the weather, Lydia. I love it so much, and I'm all about it. I just get fired up when we've got systems moving through the area. Obviously, we take these things very seriously and stuff like that. We like to have fun here, but we're also watching this very seriously for that flooding potential as well. We're going to keep a close eye on things. Dan, Zach, Peyton going to be here later on this evening watching those latest updates. And then I'll be here tomorrow morning once again, keeping you posted on the traffic situation, the flooding situation, because it does look like that's going to be an issue early tomorrow morning, unfortunately. Let's see here. Do you think we'll have an active spring in terms of severe weather? Well, we are currently in a La Nina pattern, Brendan, which can mean some crazy weather a lot of times, especially this time of year. I think February is going to be a wild month. I just have that feeling when we're in that battleground zone between warm and cold air masses. A lot of the times it can lead to wild weather swings. And anytime the weather fluctuates like that, you get the potential for winter weather. You also get the potential for severe weather in the month of February. So a lot of things that we've got to watch very closely. Is there a possibility where next week's storm system will be comparable to November 4th? Well, Edward, it's a little bit too far out to get into those details. I honestly, with the system next week, I haven't really looked at a lot of specific details because here's the deal. When you're this far out in forecasting, you're just looking more so for a general pattern. A general pattern next week does favor active weather as we move throughout the second half of the week. But in terms of severe weather potential or comparing things to past events, it's a little bit too far out for that. We'll watch it very closely. Again, when your temperatures get that warm, sometimes that can lead to things, but other models are saying that it's going to get cold again. So we just got to kind of let this pattern pan out a little bit. We got to get a little bit closer to the event, and then we can get into more specific details. So let's see here. So what are the odds of tornadoes? Any tornadoes or severe weather potential? So here's the deal, folks. With this particular storm system, there's no doubt about it. It's a low wind severe weather threat. I can't stress that enough. Hail and gusty winds are going to be the main concerns. I think the hail will be small. I think the gusty wind potential will not be widespread. But with the amount of energy moving through the area, there is going to be some concerns, I know, from folks maybe about tornado potential and stuff like that. There are some particular models that are showing maybe a small chance of that and a very low chance at that. We're talking less than 2%, but it's there. It's present because of the amount of energy that's moving through. So I can actually show you this here. This is from Colorado State. I'm going to share my screen right here so you can actually see that. I'm not going to be able to see comments for just a minute, but we're going to kind of get into some more nitty-gritty stuff here. So hopefully that screen is being shared to everybody. I think it is. I'm going to move myself out of the way and pull this up full screen here. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Stand by. There we go. Now we've got it pulled up full screen. So this is what we're talking about right here. This is the Colorado State website. Oh, this is not the right one I wanted to go to. Hold on. It's been my first time doing this in a while, so I got to do a little bit of adjusting here. I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to go back into tabs, and we're going to go to this one right here. So this is what we're talking about right here. So this is from Colorado State. I believe this is the SIPS model as well. So this kind of gives you a general idea on the probability. This is basically kind of copying the probabilities from the Storm Prediction Center. This particular model is pumping that out. So as you can see, there's that small chance of a tornado encompassing Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. A bit of a cold core setup on the backside of this storm system possible. It's also picking up on that in the hail forecast as well. Dan and I were looking at this a little bit earlier. You can see a small chance of hail trying to push through Northwest Arkansas, along with the chance for some gusty winds. So it's present. It's there. I think the small hail potential is actually much greater than the gusty wind and tornado potential, because if you look at the soundings, if you look at the model data, it does favor that small hail potential if we can get some energy on the backside of the system Thursday night into early Friday morning. But obviously, this model is picking up as well on some pretty significant wind shear, as well as that piece of energy is moving through the area. So it's not a high-end tornado threat. I want to stress this. This is not a system that we're concerned about in terms of significant tornado potential, but it is something that we're just going to keep an eye on as we move throughout this event, especially Thursday night and Friday morning with that potential cold core setup on the backside of the storm system. So that's what we're looking at in terms of that particular model. I'm going to remove that here. I'm actually going to pull this up here. This is another product that we look at that can kind of give you an idea. It's called the European Extreme Forecast Index. I'm going to pull that up as well. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we're going to present that as well. I'm actually going to pull it up as a window because I think that's going to be much easier, and I think you're going to be able to see things a little bit better. So we're going to pull that up full screen. So this is the Extreme Forecast Index from the European model, and it's kind of giving you the probabilities that the forecast that's being pumped out by the European model is actually underdone. So in this case, it's saying that the European may be underdoing the potential for instability Thursday night into early Friday morning. And you can see that the bullseye is located right over Northwest Arkansas, which makes sense because that piece of energy is going to be ejecting off to the east. You can kind of get a little bit of vorticity on the backside of the system. Not only that, but you can get a little bit of that most unstable cape seeping into the area, something that a lot of the models cannot pick up on. And the European model is indicating or hinting that there might be a little bit more instability than what is being forecasted by the models. Also, it's on the higher end, obviously, in terms of precipitation totals. You can see that right there. Bullseye over Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. There's no doubt about it. We are going to see significant rainfall from the storm system. So again, this model is saying that there might be a little bit of that most unstable cape trying to seep into far northwestern Arkansas on the backside of the system. If I go here, I can show another model as well. I could show the model run from the European. So let me see if I can pull that up real quick. And oh my goodness, it just got removed again. What in the world? Okay, so it's being a little bit weird right now. We've had a few problems with this computer this morning, so just kind of bear with me. Hopefully, you guys saw what I was just showing you, just in case. This is what we were looking at just now. Again, this is the extreme forecast index, and this is just showing the probability that we could have a little bit more instability than what's being forecasted. And you can see that is located right over northwest Arkansas. So that's something to watch Thursday night into Friday with the potential cold core setup. Again, there will be some vorticity on the backside of the system. And as I was just talking about, a bit of a Fujiwara effect as well. It's very subtle. You've got this piece of energy right here off to the north, another one to the south. Notice how both of them kind of spin around each other, and then that enhances the energy to the north. So a lot of the times, the models can't pick up on this. This energy on the backside of the system gets enhanced, and that can eke out some shower and storm development. And it makes sense that we could see some small hailstones with this system as it pushes off to the east as that most unstable Cape seeps in. But look at that energy getting enhanced over portions of central Arkansas as well. So pretty powerful storm system, folks. A lot more energy than maybe what the models are letting on right now. The European may be picking up on something right now with that system Thursday night into Friday. So it is something to watch very closely. Now, in terms of the tornado potential, because I know a lot of folks are like, okay, what about the tornado threat? Not very favorable. This particular model not showing any surface-based instability, but low-topped cells. So you can see that at 500 millibars where that equilibrium layer is. And then a little bit of an indication of some small hailstones possible in portions of northwest Arkansas. Makes sense. And Dan was actually mentioning this too when I was talking to him. If it was even colder, we may be talking about thundersleep once again. Now, that's not going to be the case with this system, but it does remind us of that system that moved to the area a couple of years ago that brought thundersleet to far northwestern Arkansas. I believe that was in 2022, February of 2022. So this system not going to be the same deal, but it could bring us some surprise rain showers and maybe some small hailstones Thursday night into Friday morning. So that's what we're looking at right now. That's kind of more of an in-depth look, more of a geeky, nerdy look at what could happen Thursday night and Friday. It's something that could be flying under the radar. We're picking up on that. We're going to watch it very closely. I would put the chances of that happening at about 20 to 30%. So it's in the forecast. We've got it in the forecast, and it's something we'll watch very closely early Friday morning. I think before sunrise. I think after sunrise, all that energy will be out of the area. But before sunrise, I'll be in early watching to see if there's maybe a little bit of isolated to scattered shower or storm development over northwest Arkansas that could produce a little bit more hail. But I see some more comments here. Chris Ebert, bro, get some rest before it comes. Love you, Chris. We never sleep here. You know that. No sleep for Josh Rugger. Just hot chocolate and Baja Blast Freezies. That's what we run on around here. Let's see here. So, hey, y'all from northwest Arkansas, I wouldn't worry about any significant tornado potential. I wouldn't really worry about that with this particular storm system. Again, the surface-based instability will be lacking. There is a lot of energy for sure across our area, a lot of upper levels energy as well, a lot of energy in the mid-levels. But in terms of tornado potential, that's not really going to be the case with this particular storm system. Let's see here. Brendan, it's not really showing up on the models because the models are not going to really pick up on these cold core setups like this. Let's see here. Is it looking like there's going to be more rainfall for western Washington County? So, Tiffany, I just saw your comment right there. So, again, I'll show you the Weather Prediction Center's outlook. I think western Washington County, I would lean more towards less rainfall just because the farther north and west you go, I think the less rainfall there will be from this particular storm system. Having said that, western Washington County, I still think it's about 1 to 3 inches. So, Tiffany, if you're watching, near Prairie Grove, Lincoln, maybe a little bit farther north and west towards Cincinnati, Watts, Oklahoma, Westville, these areas, I think 1 to 2 inches of rain looking more likely with this particular storm system here. And then you get a little bit farther south and east, that's when those rainfall totals really ramp up. So Logan, Johnson, Franklin County, Scott County, Sebastian, Crawford County, Newton, and Boone County, maybe a little bit more rain in these areas. The farther east and south you go, the more likely you are to run into those hefty rainfall totals. Let's see here. Looks like Chris is going to get a canoe. Good idea right there, Chris. I've got to get on a canoe or kayak sometime. It's been a while for me. Obviously, we're in winter, so I can't do that right now. But I might have to go back out to Beaver Lake during the spring. I love kayaking. I did that a lot when I lived down in Hot Springs along Lake Washita. Now, if you ever go down to Hot Springs, I'll say this right now. I know a lot of folks go out to Lake Hamilton. I know that's the most popular lake, but Lake Washita has the cleanest water ever. That is a lake you want to go to. So just give me a little bit of tip. If you ever go down to Hot Springs, I would avoid Lake Hamilton. I would go to Lake Washita. It's the biggest lake around Garland County, and it's also the cleanest, in my opinion. Just a little heads up there if you ever head down to Central Arkansas. Absolutely, Edward. We always appreciate you asking some good questions and your insight as well. Really appreciate you joining in on the stream. Tiffany, yeah, Josh, Dan, and Peyton, Zach. The whole weather team here is absolutely fantastic. Could not be happier, and we're blessed to work with such a great team. Look at this, Chris. Dan telling you to prepare for climbing the tower for that new WeatherBug camera at Figure 5. Man, oh man, I cannot wait for that camera, Dan. Figure 5, that's going to be so clutch. We just need more cameras everywhere, especially in southern portions of the River Valley towards Scott and LaFleur County. Get a lot of those storms in those areas as well. That Harrison Gaither mountain camera, so clutch for Northwest Arkansas. It seems like we always get storms in that particular area too. We've caught a couple of tornadoes on that camera as well. So a lot of these have been clutch. I love these new cameras, a lot of clear views, and I love all these upgrades that we're doing. This WeatherBug Network camera system is just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, Chris Ebert, get those climbing shoes back on. Maybe we'll need you to climb that tower out there at Figure 5. That would be a lot of fun. Heard your radio broadcast from the sports channel that I listened to. Edward, which one do you listen to? You listened to 92.1. Did work there. That's Cumulus Media Station. I worked there actually a few years ago, and worked on the sports radio program there in the early morning hours. That was my first introduction to media. I did some production stuff there. I was a executive producer. That was that was 3 years ago now. That's kind of crazy to think about. Time flies when you're having fun. Here's a look at that Waldron High School WeatherBug Network camera, by the way. If it will pull up, sometimes this camera goes down. There it is. Obviously, those clouds are starting to increase. I'm curious to see what the temperatures are. 64 degrees. Oh, boy. Yeah, Dan, you called it. It got up to 60 degrees really quickly. It's up to 64 now in Northwest Arkansas. Man, it is so hard to forecast these high temperatures. Yesterday morning, I had 60 for the high in Fayetteville. And then this morning, I had 62. So I didn't even get it right this morning. You know, it's just so hard. Look at that, 60 degrees in Rogers and Silent Springs, but in Fayetteville, it's 64 degrees. So it's just, it's tough, especially this time of year. And check out the River Valley, middle to upper 50s. So obviously that cloud coverage a little bit more prevalent in the River Valley compared to Northwest Arkansas. But I bet if I look at our Mount Sequoia camera, a lot more cloud cover in Northwest Arkansas right now. And yep, but again, it's not as prevalent as the River Valley. You can see some peaks of sunshine, which is why those temperatures are much warmer along and north of the Bobby Harper Tunnel. Man, Drakefield used to be colder with the temperature. Exactly. Drakefield used to be where all the colder temperatures would be compared to Benton County. Now, that was the case early this morning. Once again, if I show you the overnight lows, you'll see that temperatures were colder at Drakefield. So if we pull that up right now, you can see that. Come on. Actually, this morning it wasn't the case. Yesterday morning it was, though. It was 23 in the lower 20s in Fayetteville, and in the upper 20s, so right around 30 degrees in Benton County. This morning, a little bit more of a similar story. 33 degrees in Fayetteville, 35 in Bentonville, 37 in Springdale, 36 in Silent Springs. River Valley was in the middle 30s, but look at Harrison, upper 40s. So it looks like the heat island has been transported to Boone County now, in and around Harrison. But once again, a chilly start to the morning, but we're going to be saying goodbye to that over the next several days. We are definitely going to get much warmer for the early part of next week. Let's see here. Okay, 92 on the ticket. Yep, that's where I worked, Edward. That is exactly where I worked a few years ago. I worked there from May of 2019 till May of 2022. I was there for 3 years. And I've been here for almost 3 years now. It's crazy how quickly time flies. Let's see here. Y'all ready for the spring tornadic storms? I see. Kelly, it's always busy when that happens, and we're prepared. That's for sure. Dan's working on a fabulous graphic that's going to explain QLCS tornadoes in much more detail. It's going to go behind the science. It's a great graphic that he's making right now. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's really going to explain the type of storms that we see in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley to a T. Let's see here. Let's see. What do you think the weather will be for the Super Bowl that nobody wants? Okay. So, Brendan, that's a good question. So I think it will be right around room temperature. So about 70 to 73 degrees, give or take. I think there will be a 100% chance of disappointed NFL fans, a 100% chance of satisfied Swifties, 95% chance of overpriced tickets because I'm sure a few people have been able to scalp some for cheaper. 100% chance of overpriced concessions and a 60%. I'm going with a 60. Who even is the Super Bowl performance this year? I'm going with the coin flip. 50-50 chance that the Super Bowl performance is going to be good this year. Who can somebody tell me who the Super Bowl performance is going to be this year? I haven't even paid attention because I'm so mad that it's Kansas City and the Eagles again. Should have been my Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. I think that's what a lot of people wanted, Edward, but I think a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas also wanted the Kansas City Chiefs to make it, and obviously they have. So we'll see what happens. I'm still going to watch, and I know Colby Ward is very excited, our storm spotter. Kendrick Lamar, okay. I'll go with a 65% chance then. I bumped up the probability of the Super Bowl performance being good. Kendrick Lamar I think he could put on a good show. I'm not really big into rap, though. I'll be honest with you. I'm more into hip hop and more of like classic hip hop. So like Outkast, maybe a little bit of Biggie. And Dan Scoff has gotten me in to a little bit more of that rock and roll with Megadeth. So I've been expanding my music palette over the last several years, ever since I started working here. Looks like we got some Chiefs fans in the house. You know what? Just for you and Colby, I'll root for the Chiefs. I don't know who to root for, but you know what? I've decided to root for the Chiefs. Also, we got a manager here who likes the Eagles, and you know what? I'm friends with them. I got to root for the opposing team. Let's see here. All right. I love all these comments that we're getting right now. I'll listen to anything but country. Edward, I actually think country might be my favorite genre, actually. I love me some Cowboy Keith. But again, I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to show these precipitation totals one more time. 1 to 3 inches of rain in far northwestern Arkansas, 2 to 4 inches of rain along and south of Interstate 40. The potential for locally higher amounts certainly there along and south of Interstate 40. So we'll have to watch those trends very closely. Again, there is a slight risk of excessive rainfall in the forecast. Widespread heavy rain going to be likely for an entire weather coverage area, but the farther south you go, the more likely you are to run into that significant heavy rain threat and that higher end flooding threat. And again, keep an eye out Thursday night into early Friday morning. Might be a surprise storm or two that could drop some small hail over far northwestern Arkansas. We'll certainly keep an eye on that. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I love the comments that we've gotten in today. Really appreciate everybody tuning in, joining in, asking questions. I'm right with you, Maureen. A good country show for halftime would be awesome. I would absolutely love that too as a country fan myself. I need it like I need air right now. And you know what? Edward Saquon deserves a ring for all the bad times in New Jersey up there with the New York Giants. You know what? I really like Saquon Barkley. He seems like a very classy guy. And I like Jalen Hurts too. He seems very nice. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Dan and Peyton will be here today covering all the latest details. You can join in on KNWA starting at 5 p.m. We also got Fox 24 News at 5:30, KXNW News at 7 as well if you want to see Peyton. Really, really appreciate everybody joining in. Again, we'll have a live update later on this evening with Dan and Peyton. We'll watch these trends very closely. Make sure you're staying weather aware. Take it nice and easy on the roadways early tomorrow morning. And we'll keep an eye on those trends for the weekend as well as temperatures start to warm up. Have a wonderful Wednesday, everybody, and God bless.